Wonderful people. Today we'll hit how you can apply telepathic communication in all situations, as telepathy is not something new. It's something of old ages, and actually that is going to make a huge return on the planet for everybody to apply. So that's going to be very, very interesting. I've been applying telepathy unconsciously actually, but in a level of consciousness, like I was doing it like on an automatic scale all of the time. And that is because most of the time, my life actually, I lived alone. So I communicated internally all of the time. There were things I wanted to express, and I was sending them out, but not being conscious of it. And thus, a lot of communication also went to my highest level passion, that is the repair of the animal kingdoms and the abuse in there. So I did a lot of communication in there as well. But anyways, as we live in a huge quantum field of massive expression, impressions, in which energy rules vibration, then, we can try that out. And here I will elaborate on it, how you can apply it, how you can start it out yourself and not be afraid any longer, because it's actually, let's say, a modem, an application, a system to which you can start to communicate and receive communication, receive messages, receive information, receive impressions, depending on the subject you are addressing, actually, because it's actually a communication from one source, that is you, to another source, or an entire group of sources. And the easiest thing, or the most interesting thing for people on the planet right now, would actually be the communication to somebody or a human being, right? And so here we need to understand that everything comes to our sensory perception, the higher senses. When developed very well, or even when not developed, we have that ability. Yet, communication comes through on different levels, depending on where you're at in your energy field, in your vibration, how you lift it up. And so everybody knows we've been going through so much in the manipulative fields of the matrix that held back that sort of communication. As we in the awakening process, not only awakening, but being requested to elevate our consciousness all the way up the ladder, where we can match the galaxies, the stars, and have intercommunication levels to many, many species as well. Then that opens a brand new world to us, and also opens our channel to the higher levels. At least, if you're working on it, even if you're not working on integrating full-time your new light body with a new tree of light that entails the entire quantum fields, that is your eternal immortal vibration, actually, that is also available when doing alignments, education into knowledge, all the way back up there, which is my entire passion of my entire life, and thus available. But here, understanding that, many people have had the experience like, hey, somebody's calling you, and you said, I was just thinking about you, and here you are, you're on the phone, right? That is telepathy. Your frequency matching the same vibration of that particular person. That is sheer telepathy. But that is what we know. But how can we activate this on a higher level is actually quite easy. We don't need to make things difficult. So we can communicate instantly. So we don't need actually to be in a particular space or something, but the best would also always be in a happy, pure, neutral space in which you can define a certain scenario. So you need to have a particular intention, but not the intention of the outcome, for you would influence that particular person you want to communicate with. So for starters here, I would definitely start one-on-one telepathic waves or telepathic communication coming through particular wavelengths in the universe. We have telepathic wavelengths, we have telecommunicative wavelengths, we have telekinesis, we have so much, but starting out with something comes in quite handy, because when we can imagine a scenario and we are in a neutral space, let's say the best space would be alone, no influences of the outworld world, no influences of any family or whatever, your own space, all by yourself. And I know many people are going to need telepathic communication, especially as many things are changing all over the planet, especially also needed for the justice system. As amongst my clients in individual sessions, they all struggle with the justice system and having cases coming through and not having the right outcome, etc., etc. So I want many cases through telepathic communication, so I explain one later on. But here, to start out, you need to have a goal, right? You need to have a subject, like why would you want to communicate with somebody? Or perhaps, you know, as an example here, you've been meeting up with a good friend and that didn't end quite well because maybe you were in fear or you were in stubbornness and you were on a platform of disagreement, and that hurted a bit when you parted. Like when you come home, you don't feel yourself in a good space. I mean, that happens at times. And also when we don't feel, you know, 100% in an optimum, joyful expression. And so we start to send out information and messages between each other when we meet up that afterwards we might think that was pretty stupid to do, because oftentimes when we reflect things that are not really, you know, or innate expression, then we may hurt other people. And so there is an easy way to repair that with huge results. So imagine, just the best thing you can do is imagine that person and start off really easy, like I invite crystalline good unified fields of connectivity and allow them to stream through your feet, and I invite and allow telepathic waves to come through to open my brain so I have an easy time to send through telepathic waves. You can breathe them in, that's in that color, or dark, really dark purple. And you start that out for a few minutes, and then you go in your space, you close your eyes, and you continue to breathe. Right now I feel the vortex is coming through, like really massively. And so you envision that person sitting in front of you. And what you may want to do is, it's a very simple technique, but so effective, is that you start creating a lemniscate from your heart to the heart of that person. So in an 8 spiraling from your heart up in that person, up back here, up in the person, and the middle point goes in that infinite quantum field, that infinite light space of the divine. All right, you just breathe that through. I invite and allow my connection to that person. So you have the heart vibration, which is very important. And then you can imagine that through the color I give you 3 colors that are very important. So first of all, we have the golden lemniscate, that is immediate, instant alchemy. We have the red ray in the inverted 8. The red ray is very potent, very attractive. That pulses the person right to you. So that's very good as well. You might experience with those 2. And I have an additional, which I found very, very easy to get the flow in, and that is the blue way. So a blue 8 pulsing, I breathe in, I'm one with that particular person, I'm one with that particular person, that's it. And then you start just to communicate what you have to say, but internally. Like, for example, you know, you have that friend and you parted in a disharmonious sphere, so to speak, okay? Then you may say, like, hey, I'm so sorry, you know, I did that. You know, I wasn't able to apologize even. I was too stubborn. I was in fear, and, you know, it hurts me, and I want to reset it. But I have a difficulty to express it. For example, sometimes, you know, it's easier to communicate telepathically than to truly speak out as a real person. So that is one example, and you may be surprised. So in that particular state, you may instantly receive answers. Like, you know, I've had that maybe a long time ago, but I received the answer me, oh, that person would say immediately, or you would hear it immediately, that like, hey, that's quite okay, I'm glad you're telling me. And that person in the meantime gets awareness and gets that awareness and may start to contact you, or you may continue the communication, like saying, hey, could we meet up again? Like, I'm sorry, yeah, you know, I want to meet us back in balance and harmony and all those things, you know. That's an option. So that is, you could choose that option because, you know, energy is omnipresent. We live in an omnipresent universe. It is infinite. Possibilities are infinite. It just needs, you know, you need to come up with the right words and not be egotistical in those words. And say it like it is. And that's just it, you know. And then, because in that quantum field, you receive the best of answers. So many things can happen from here out. Because also that person may completely reject you. And there may be reasons for it. So telepathically, you could start to ask that person, why are you rejecting me? What, you know, I'm apologizing. I'm, you know, blah, blah, blah. So that's an option. And if you don't have that immediate answer, then impressions may come true, designs may come true. That person may, for example, you may visualize that person and see that person crying, eventually struggling with things you were not aware of. Keep on asking questions, keep on receiving, either way, designs, photographs, information. You know, most of the time I always hear them speak loud. And then for my professional life, you know, as a channel, a designer, you know, a therapist, everything, and receiving light codes, that is my communication with my living light guides, masters, angelites, higher level species throughout the universe, and bringing these designs through. And that is just that. And then it's a matter of following up what we receive, combining them with telepathic words and sending that out. But the same thing, you know, I've been applying telepathy for more than 25 years very consciously, but not in the beginning, as we all have that very strong. And there was a certain time in my life that, you know, at times I would meet up with some friends and have a drink or something. And in that particular beautiful establishment, I would see like 2 people or 3 people having a fight. And that's not something I ever accept. I cannot have that while being in a joyful communication, having music and everything, you know. Particular time I was educating that person how to go into light body, how to have that passion, how to upgrade all of the time and have the outcomes, and you know, how to develop many psychic capabilities, abilities, skills, and so forth. So that was very interesting. And so at that moment I told them, watch me, I'm going to demonstrate here right away. So my focus was on those people having some sort of a quarrel, a fight, you know, disharmonious energies that were getting a bit loud in that particular establishment. So I focused on the person creating it because I felt immediately which person amongst these people was creating it. You feel that when you're interested to focus to have an outcome, then you have that sheer intention. And so all I did is create that spiral. That's an eternal spiral, that 8 lemniscate. And I commanded that brain immediately to leave that place. So I do know with which energies to work, but if you don't know, like here, I work with the black omniverse, the blue wave flow, and dark purple. That gets that job done. But we need to know the consciousness within all ways. If we really want to have quick results, that's the way to go. So I'm just explaining that, and there was 3 or 4 minutes. And I said, I don't want to have this. Like, this needs to stop right here because it's influencing my joy, having a drink here and a great conversation with good music. So I kept on doing it. I kept on visualizing the situation right in front of me at the end. You know, it's maybe like 10 meters from me. And I could hear everything they said, although the distance was quite, you know, it was a very, very big establishment. So 4 minutes later, that guy turned around, took his belongings, and left that place just like this, like in a flick of a finger. And that person who was with me, she was really in awe. She said, oh, I want to be able to perform that as well. And so she got educated in how to work with energy, light consciousness, and frequencies, and rising that vibration every day into a higher level of knowledge, of application. So I'm sure many amongst you have some experience. Let me know in the comments if you have some experience, if you have the great outcome. So never ever wait for the outcome. It will come through various ways. You may get an email, a phone call, you know, that stuff. Even if you're talking to persons you would love to meet again, that you haven't met for 10 or 20 years, it's all a possibilities. I've had those experiences many times over and over. It's about, you know, leaving anything that is emotion behind and allow yourself to remain in your higher senses. So the receptivity in the brain is very important along your connection with your heart brain, and that needs to be pure. You know, if there's any you know, falseness or content that doesn't belong there in your highest intention, then chances are these energies may be broken, or chances are you may not have the right outcome. So you can never influence the right outcome. You can only communicate and tell it like it is. And we'll, in that purified field, we can manage many things truly. And then, as I said before, like, I think telepathy is very important. Another thing is also, you know, people looking for new jobs, new experiences, a new passion. And when there's many candidates for that particular job, you can definitely, at least if you've had an interview or if you haven't had an interview yet and you're waiting for the answer, you could do that same exercise that is very potent with the Lamniska. Truly, let me know if you are trying that out and what the outcome was. So if you have any questions or any troubles getting an outcome in telepathics used in business and justice systems, or because that's gonna matter a lot, or with your children or anyone, I mean, telepathics has massive capacity to bring you the best of the best outcomes ever. So I hope you liked it. So there's a lot more content on my blog. If you want to subscribe there's a link in the description. And for the many other things I do in individual sessions and so forth and alignments, it's all about passion and joy, and never ever be in a negative space when you do it. That's the only message I have right here. Thank you so much for being with me, leaving me a comment, leaving me how you feel about it. And maybe, you have other experiences, practices. Please share them with everybody. Thank you so much. I'm Charlotte Chi. See you in the next week. Thank you.